Minutes before the hour. Star Wars is one of those movies like Gone with the Wind. Just about everybody has seen it, not once, but several times. Well, a new chapter of Star Wars is premiering this month. It's called The Empire Strikes Back. And once again, we'll see the daring adventures of Luke Skywalker and Princess Leia, but we know Princess Leia must come out all right because right now, in person, she is with us in the guise of her alter ego, Carrie Fisher. Good morning.
Good morning.
I saw the movie the other night, and I noticed that as in the original, as in Star Wars, Princess Leia is not the usual damsel in distress. She's very strong, very spunky. She gets to shoot the bad guys and charts the ship. In any way, have you been responsible for making Princess Leia so strong a character?
Well, I read somewhere that George Lucas had hired me because I was strong, but I don't see any indications of it on me now.
Yes, she's only 99 pounds right here.
93.
93 pounds.
And counting, and it's very early.
It certainly is. Do you feel famous since you have become the star of the largest grossing movie of all time? It was really only your second movie. Do you feel
No,
different?
I'm sort of notorious. I'm not conspicuous in any way. I mean, one wouldn't sort of say, there's Princess Leia over in the fruit section. I can go to the market if I want, anytime.
How has it changed your life, though, being in this incredible movie, and now the sequel?
I have much nicer furniture. I couldn't say. I do shows like these.
At these strange hours of the morning?
Yes.
But it must make you feel good that you've been associated with something that's done so well.
Well, yes, it's a lot of work, and it uses up a lot of me, which I like to use as much of me as I can. So
we're going to take a look at a clip from the movie, and this is a romantic scene, not an action scene. And I think Star Wars fans will be much surprised to see that Princess Leia is not choosing Luke Skywalker. And we'll watch.
Hey, Your Worship, I'm only trying to help.
Would you please stop calling me that?
Sure, Leia.
You make it so difficult sometimes.
I do, I really do. You could be a little nicer, though. Come on, admit it, sometimes you think I'm all right.
Occasionally, maybe. When you aren't acting like a scoundrel.
Scoundrel? Scoundrel? I like the sound of that.
Stop that.
Stop what?
Stop that. My hands are dirty.
My hands are dirty, too. What are you afraid of?
Afraid?
You're trembling.
I'm not trembling.
You like me because I'm a scoundrel. There aren't enough scoundrels in your life.
I happen to like nice men.
I'm nice men.
No, you're not.
Sir, I've isolated the reverse power flux coupling.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, I'm not going to give the ending away and tell you who she chooses sort of in the end. But in real life, do you like scoundrels or nice men? The difference between Luke and Harrison Ford on the screen, but...
I'd like an even mesh, I think.
Combination of both things.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose everybody in our audience knows by now that you're the daughter of Debbie Reynolds and Eddie Fisher. Brought along as a young child, I'm sure they gave you a lot of advice about this business or about life in general. What advice of theirs has stuck with you over the years?
Don't walk in the middle of the street when there's cars going around.
No, real advice.
Well, I don't really remember. They didn't really encourage me to go into show business. They always just assumed that I would, and I went along with the assumption. And learn the lines and don't run into the furniture, just like Spencer Tracy said. And don't go past first base on the first date.
that has stayed with you.
I don't in this movie.
Yeah, that's right. No, she doesn't. Did you really feel it was inevitable that you had to go into this business? You didn't have a choice?
No, I could have probably been a child psychologist or something. I don't look much like one, but maybe. I mean, if my parents had, you know, you follow in the footsteps of your parents, supposedly. So perhaps if they'd been doctors, I would have given you an injection right now.
We've had enough medical stuff this morning, I think, from good Dr. Tim Johnson. And we've had a nice time with you. And good luck with the sequel to Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back. And may the Force be with you. May the Force be with you. And we'll be right back to this after this from Sunkissed.
Let's check and see what's happening in various parts of the country.
Walker?
Chris on weather right now. Don't forget the big weekend Memorial Day forecast at 8:30. The time, 22 minutes now before the hour of 8 o'clock. And we have a Simon Eyes Wise Gene Shalit over there, who is always shining and brilliant.
Good morning and welcome to the Critics' Corner. Thank you, Willard. Stanley Kubrick's new film, The Shining, based on Stephen King's novel, opens today. After a year of build-up, it is a letdown. The Shining is a horror picture. It cost $18 million. That's part of the horror. The rest is the wasting of excellent performances by Jack Nicholson and Shelley Duvall, and the gall of calling it a masterpiece in the advance ads. Kubrick has confused horror with shock. A whack in the belly with an axe is shock, and in this case, telegraph shock. Horror is in the mind. Horror is suspense. Horror is anticipation and twisted realization. Horror is caring about the people in danger. All of these horrors are missing from The Shining, although I am left with some satisfying impressions. Two little girls in starch blue, right out of a Diane Arbus photo. A Dorian Gray woman riding before our eyes. Shelley Duvall's frenzied eyes darting with helplessness. A dream of a bartender. And surely Jack Nicholson's remarkable face with which he projects cruelty, madness, and off-the-wall caroms of intent. His eyes roll into white or narrow into knavery. His smile can be warm, false, condescending, or sinister, laced with a storm-warning flick of the tongue. For The Shining to work, you must forget you're in a movie. You must be absorbed into another world. You must be made willing to discard reality. But Kubrick keeps reminding us that it's only a movie. He does this by interrupting the story with full-screen titles like 8 a.m. or Tuesday. They're meaningless. In The Shining, a teacher with a background of violence, awash in alcohol, takes a job as a winter caretaker of an isolated mountain hotel in Colorado. Alone in this vast snow-blocked resort are the teacher, his wife, and the little boy. The little boy has an imaginary friend named Tony. He says he lives in his mouth, and he can foretell the future and reflect the past. Will the isolation drive this man berserk? Well, if a yes answer is not self-evident, why did they make the movie? So, since there is no primary surprise, Kubrick must grab us with how it happens, with the tension-building interplay of man, woman, and child. But despite the excellent efforts of Nicholson and Duvall, and a nice turn by Scatman Crothers, the picture never gets a grip on its goal, and that goal is to get us in its grasp. Were it not for Kubrick's lofty reputation, this would all be dismissed with a shrug. But because of his reputation and because of his past record of achievement, the film is an immense disappointment. Sad to say, Stanley Kubrick is responsible for the dulling of The Shining. That's the Critics' Corner this morning. A station break.
For weather, we will be back in just about 20 minutes from now. Stay with us. Okay?
Good morning and welcome to the Critics' Corner. It's June and summer is bearing down hard on the horizon. Summer is traditionally a time for blithe entertainment in movies, records, and books. As the sunny season beckons, here's what Americans are paying to watch, hear, and read. In pop records, some less familiar names have edged into the bestseller groove. The #1 selling album for the last 5 months, Pink Floyd's The Wall, has finally been breached and has tumbled to 3rd place. Selling more records than anyone else is Billy Joel. His record, Glass Houses, has climbed steadily for months, disproving the adage that people who live in rock should not throw glass houses. Against the Wind, the album by Bob Seger and his band is still gusting strong at #2. Longtime top of the listers Linda Ronstadt and Michael Jackson have been lopped off altogether. They are replaced by The Pretenders in 4th place, and by Van Halen's Women and Children First in 5th. Movies. The cinema supersellers are nearly all new. Of the top 5 grossing films in Variety's most recent ranking, only Kramer vs. Kramer was listed a month ago. That Oscar sweeper is down from 1st to 5th place after nearly 6 months in release. Astonishingly, in the last week measured, more Americans went to see that hideously awful horror movie, Friday the 13th, than any other film. If that isn't enough of a sour shock, the second highest grossing movie is that gross-out Hollywood Nights. The Nude Bomb, a silly frolic that is happily not called Get Smart, the motion picture, sits securely in 3rd place. In fourth money-making position, The Long Riders, a striking contemplation of Jesse James's filial love and post-Civil War incivility. Too late to be in these national calculations are two sudden blockbusters, The Empire Strikes Back and The Shining. The Empire Strikes Back was seen by more than 2 million people in its very first week, the week that ended yesterday, and it's only opened in 126 theaters around the country. The top money makers are playing in as many as 1,000 movie houses at once. At this rate, if it keeps up, Empire could recoup all its costs before the month is out. Stanley Kubrick's The Shining is being shown, until the weekend after next, in only 10 theaters, and not only in New York and Los Angeles. I was disappointed in that horrific film, but audiences so far are obviously not disappointed. The Shining is breaking box office records. One theater in Times Square in New York is drawing huge crowds, 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. Imagine getting out of the movies in Times Square at 6 o'clock in the morning. A month from now, both of these hyper-hype pictures will be fighting for the top spot on Variety's chart, no doubt about it. Now in books, the best-selling fiction, Robert Ludlum's The Bourne Identity, still the top bestseller as it was last month and the month before that. In second place, Random Wins by Belva Plain, a generational saga of dedicated doctors. Judith Krantz's fortune, which happens to take the form of a novel about rich and beautiful people, has slipped from 2 to 3. It's called Princess Daisy. The late Helen Van Slyke's final book is called No Love Lost. It's the 4th bestseller in fiction, just ahead of Frederick Forsyth's arresting Afghan adventure, The Devil's Alternative. One final observation about these 5 best-selling novels. The list consists of 3 romantic tales, traditionally called women's books, by 3 women authors, and 2 violent stories of espionage, the most stereotypical kind of so-called men's fiction. Where are the splendid curiosities, the oddball books that don't fit neatly into a cliché category? Not at the top of the bestseller list. That's where they're not. And that's the Critics' Corner, listing slightly. Next, the station break.
Last night, 12. Well, I got to tell you this. This is the first I'd ever heard of one of these, but the 7th Annual National Asparagus Festival takes place in Oceana County, Michigan, all this week. Enjoy. Holidays, here we come. And now, what's happening? Is he really going to be here?
Yes. Frank Oz, the man who is Miss Piggy, also plays Yoda in the new Star Wars movie, The Empire Strikes Back, and Gene Shalit talked with him.
Millions of people who are going to see The Empire Strikes Back, but who have not yet seen it. Who is Yoda? What is Yoda? Tell us a little bit about Yoda.
Yoda is the Jedi Master, and Yoda trains Luke in the ways of the Force. And so he's really the patient, wise, but strong leader, teacher.
I said he was tiny. How big is he?
He's about under 3 feet.
He's about this big?
Yeah.
And how old is he?
He's around 900 years old.
And for how long has he been the repository of the secrets of the Force?
Well, he's been teaching for about 800 years.
In the film, Mark Hamill is in a swamp, in a strange place. And he knows he is looking for a Jedi Master, but he has no idea what the Jedi Master looks like or who he is. Mm-hmm. And in what we're about to see, the audience for the first time sees Yoda and hears the voice of Frank Oz. Let's take a look at this encounter between Mark Hamill and Yoda.
Now all I gotta do is find this Yoda. This place gives me the creeps. Still, there's something familiar about this place. I don't know. I feel like we're being watched.
Away, put your weapon. I mean you no harm. I am wondering, why are you here?
I'm looking for someone.
Looking? Found someone you have, I would say.
Right.
Help you I can. Yes.
I don't think so. I'm looking for a great warrior.
Oh, great warrior. Oh. Wars not make one great.
Now that scene lasted a couple of minutes, Frank, and a compelling scene it is. How long did it take you to make a scene that lasted that brief a time on screen?
Well, it took hours just to do a couple of lines at times. As the time wore on and we were all more comfortable, Kirsch, the director, we were more comfortable with the character and how we all worked together, it took less time, but I'd say it took a few hours to do a few lines.
Was it hard to do?
I've been performing for about over 20 years, and that's one of the hardest things I've ever done.
Is it wrong to call Yoda a Muppet? I mean, you are Frank Oz, one of the mainstays of the Muppets, a close associate of Jim Henson's for many years, and that you are Grover, and you are the Cookie Monster, and you are, above all, in the public mind, Miss Piggy.
Right.
So you were originally hired because of your Muppet experience to be one of the people who made Yoda work physically.
I was the one to make Yoda work, actually. Jim Henson was the one who recommended me to Gary Kurtz, who's the producer.
But is it wrong to say that Yoda is therefore a Muppet?
It's wrong, because Jim consulted, but it was really Stuart Freeborn who made it, and it really is a creation of Star Wars, and not Muppets.
Now, you mustn't minimize your own contribution to this character. I mean, you've done a tremendous amount with this character.
I love that character, and in part, I believe in answers in life or attempted solutions in life that are not easy. I believe in long-term, and working hard, and being sensitive to your needs and other people's needs. And Yoda believes in that too. There's a great deal of strength and power in Yoda. Tremendous. There's a richness of character. And he's struggling against the Force. And it's a tremendously mythic, courageous, and lonely struggle. As a matter of fact, when I was doing Yoda, I had a dream. I had a dream at home, and I kept on, in the dream, I said to myself, no, you're not going to go to sleep until you do get the ears and the nose and the eyes and the frowning and the hands and everything right. So I kept on doing it over and over in my dream until I did it right. And so I was so involved in it day by day, I didn't really think about the outcome, and I don't know if the other people thought about the outcome. We were just concerned about doing it the best way we could.
Frank, thanks very much for coming to Washington from London so that we could all meet you here on today. How'd you get here, by the way?
I got here by Concorde.
Do you like the Concorde?
I like the Concorde, yeah. It just makes sense to me. I'd rather be scared for 3 hours than 7.
I know how you feel. If you'd like to be delighted for 2 hours, you like that?
Good.
Go see The Empire Strikes Back with Yoda, Frank Oz.
Thanks
very much for being here.
Thank you.
That's it. Have a pleasant day wherever you are. And now over in a very special set with some very strange and exciting people from outer space is our own Out of Sight Jane.
It's coming, folks. You've been waiting 3 years, I should think. The long-awaited and long-anticipated sequel to Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back.
Echo Station 5-7. We're on our way. All right, boys, keep tight now.
Luke, I have no approach vector. I'm not set.
Steady, Dak. Attack pattern Delta.
Go now.
All right, coming in.
Mark Hamill is back as Luke Skywalker. Harrison Ford is back as Han Solo. And needless to say, Darth Vader is back waging more Star Wars against the rebels of long, long ago. When we last saw Luke and Han, what were they up to, and now where do we find them again?
Well,
Here we are on the Today program. But where were we, when Star Wars ended?
it was the conclusion of one of a significant battle of the rebels.
And it ended in triumph.
And it ended in triumph. And we begin the second one with yet another conflict with the Empire. But the story is really not so much about those conflicts in the second one as it is about the characters. There's more complication of the characters in the second picture.
In 1976, I signed a contract for 3 films, and those 3 films would tell the complete story. So what we have in The Empire Strikes Back is a second act, and all the problems in a second act, that is, you can forward the storyline, but you really can't solve all of the loose ends, so to speak.
So what was the talk? I can remember 3 years ago with Star Wars when we were anticipating more and more films to come, of not a sequel but a prequel or
It gets real confusing
in-
after a while, doesn't it? But basically, this is the second of 3 films that tell one story, and they were originally called The Adventures of Luke Skywalker, and it just was too big to get on the marquee.
It just so happens that the next trilogy after the next film will go 20 years earlier and tell of the young Alec Guinness character and how Darth Vader came to power, and then we wouldn't be involved in those because our characters were just little nippers.
So this is it for you guys.
The third one.
The third one.
The third one will be.
Which we haven't made yet.
All right. Well, good. And that's not until 1980.
We started in the middle of 1981 to make it.
I get ahead of myself. The Empire Strikes Back is only out next week, and there are some old faces. Of course, Luke and Princess Leia and Han and C-3PO and R2-D2, and some new faces too.
Yes.
Billy D. Williams is in this movie. We've got another clip. I want to show you as much of the movie as we can get away with without charging you $5 a crack. So take a look at this.
No one to meet us.
I don't like this.
What would you like?
Well, they did let us land.
Look, don't worry. Everything's going to be fine. Trust me. See? My friend. Keep your eyes open, huh?
Hey! Why, you slimy, double-crossing, no-good swindler. You got a lot of guts coming here after what you pulled.
How you doing, you old pirate? So good to see you. I never thought I'd get to see you again. Well, he seems very friendly.
Yes. Very friendly.
Tell you a secret. Sometimes we have movie stars on this show who in private will admit they don't like the movie too much. These guys watch that with such... You like this movie, don't you?
I love it. I love it.
You said what? Those cuts were so good.
Well, I mean, the way the film is put together, I really enjoy.
Is this as good as the first?
I'm mostly excited because you see a real growth in the characters. I chose to play Luke in the first one in a specific, very innocent, very young style, so there would be a contrast, and I really feel that my character's paying off now. And then you will see a different set of characters in the third one because there was a progression.
You said you signed a contract 4 years ago to do the 3 films. Given that Star Wars was the biggest moneymaker of all time, made a fortune, are you guys being compensated better this time than you were for the first film?
It really made a lot of money?
A fortune.
Oh. Wow.
What, are these $1 bills coming out of his pocket? No, are you doing better now?
No, we have been more than justly treated by George Lucas.
Don't hear that too often.
Right. Well, the nice thing was that he made it a gift so that you don't have a lot of unhappiness.
In other words, do you really ever need to work again?
Yeah, I need to work all
Why?
the time to keep myself alive, awake. That's why you need to work. And the money is, we could sit here and fantasize about money, but it doesn't, it's not real. That's, you have to be outside of the situation to have that concept of the money.
Is it a secret which of the two of you wins the love of Princess Leia?
I think it's best to keep as many surprises as possible. It's like your sister telling you what you're getting for Christmas. If you have to fake that surprise. Oh boy, a new bike.
I was surprised. And congratulations to the lucky man. You'll have to find out which one won for yourself. Lucky or Wookiee. Thank you. We'll be back in a moment for first a station break.